Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Saturday night in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you today.
Champion, the Hour of Twilight is upon us. Again. So join me as we unite to take down the corrupted Black Dragon aspect, Deathwing.
Yeah, that's right. Cataclysm Classic Phase 4 is upon us, so we'll be taking a deep dive into the final phase of Cataclysm, as well as covering all the WoW news and events. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really helps out the distribution, so if you're so inclined, we'd be very grateful. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. That would also really help us out. I'd like to take a moment now to thank our patrons. These are people who give their IRL money to help us out with the production of the show and different costs. So thank you to Judge Omni and Stug Life. These are our friend of the show patrons. They have been supporting the show for quite a while now, so thank you. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. All right, before I get into the news, I will do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in WoW. So last week was kind of a slow week for me in terms of game. I had some IRL stuff going on. If you've heard my call out a couple of weeks ago for my lovely mother-in-law, Susan, she is fantastic. She has been so supportive of me doing the podcast. She has no clue what I'm talking about, but she's supportive nonetheless. She had hip surgery this past Monday. And so my wife and I have been helping her with cooking and cleaning and laundry and just doing all the different things. So yeah, it's taken a lot of time. So I have not had as much time as I wanted for WoW. Obviously, the podcast is coming out quite a bit later than I had originally intended. So yeah, here we are. But you know what? It's okay because she's a beautiful soul and it's absolutely worth it. So, but as far as game stuff does go, I did get a few keys in on the Demon Hunter. So I'm really trying to get him set up for season 2. It's been a challenge because I feel like when you get to the end of the season, or I would say even the midpoint of the season, about week 10, 12 or so, if you don't know all of the interrupts and all of the mechanics and all of the paths and all of these things for the Mythic Plus dungeon pool, you're screwed because people will get so angry if you don't do it correctly. Now, I was okay. I managed to get through the keys that I did fine. I did a 3 stone vault. I did a 3 Siege of Borealis. I think it was a 3. I did a couple of keys. Anyway, but the point is, I was nervous as heck trying to go through these keys and worried that I was going to make a mistake and wipe the group and be the reason that we bricked a key. I wasn't, but that's why I was so nervous going into this, because I was like, oh my gosh, what if it's me? What if I'm the idiot that's going to ruin this? So, but I did my keys and it was good. And, I really enjoyed it. And I was either number 1 or number 2 on DPS for every key that I did. So that's good. I like that. I mean, I'm way over gearing keys. My Demon Hunter is 619 now. So I'm doing 2s and 3s. So I'm substantially over gearing those keys. So I think people are probably really glad to get me, at least initially. And then they go, oh, this guy's know what he's doing. But it's fun. I'm having a good time with the keys. And yeah, so there you go. I'm trying to, I'd love to get KSM. I mean, I've got a couple weeks left. I mean, I could still do it. I just need to pump up my key volume, get some 7s in there. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just, that's a problem for future Denethar. So aside from that, basically just, doing the time walking, the turbulent timeway stuff has been really good because especially with starting last week with Burning Crusade. So you get Black Temple raid that you can do, and you can get hero piece for that, plus the kill 5 bosses or 5 dungeons gets you a hero piece. So yeah, it's been pretty lucrative. I think I need 3 pieces that are still champion, or my pants are still veterans, but don't tell anyone. So yeah, that's where I am on that. But Ulduar always pisses me off because people can't figure out the Flame Leviathan fight. You go in there, people are like, oh, let's just go pull the boss. No, you got to at least pull 1 tower down. People don't know how to do that fight, and it's really frustrating. And so you end up with 3 or 4 wipes, and then people go, oh, I'm leaving. This group sucks. It's like, no, this fight is way more complicated than it should be on a time walking raid. But whatever, it's fine. We killed it, and I got my quest completed, and that was that. The Yogg-Saron fight is easy, comparatively speaking, but whatever. So yeah, time walking, and then in Cataclysm Classic, I did a little bit of messing around, trying to get my mage leveled up, but it's gonna be a struggle, honestly, because I don't know how to play a mage at this point. He's level 50. Ran him through BRD. I was like, I don't even know what I can kill and what I can't kill on my paladin. Turns out I can kill everything, but you have to think about it. You can't just blindly spam buttons like you can in modern WoW. You have to actually pay attention and think when you're doing a run through. So, yeah, that was fun, and I will probably do it again this week. I don't know that I'm going to be trying to get into any raids on Cataclysm. I don't have that energy. I'm too focused on the War Within right now. So Cataclysm is just a fun little side diversion. But yeah, so there you go. And then I think that's it. Yeah, my blood DK is still ungilded, and my demon hunter. So I joined a guild. Okay, so here's what happened. I went out to the guild recruitment Discord, found a guild that I liked their raid times and seemed like they were cool. So I talked to the recruiter, and she was like, yeah, I would love to have your demon hunter. Let's go. So we talked for a little bit, and then she finally sent me an invite to their Discord server, and I was like, cool. So I got on their Discord server, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of lay low because that's what I do. And then I read through everything and was like, all right, I don't know how to join the guild. 2 days went by, and now I'm embarrassed because it's like, well, maybe I should have done something to begin with. Now it feels stupid. Like, hey, I've been here for 3-4 days. Can I join the guild? It just feels awkward. So now I'm like in this weird, I want to join this guild, but at the same time, now I'm too embarrassed to join. So I don't know what to do. So I'll figure it out. But that's where I am on joining a new guild. So yeah, and that's about it. So there's excuse me, there's a lot going on in game, but not a ton of news. So we'll get through the news, and then we'll get to our main topic of the week, which is the Hour of Twilight patch. So, all right, let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so the big news, obviously, last week was the announcement of the release date for patch 11.1, Undermined. It will be released on February 25th, which is, I speculated February 18th, but then when Cataclysm Classic was announced on February 18th, I was like, okay, well, we'll just move it back a week. It turns out that's what it was, but that's what everyone suspected, honestly. I'm not a genius in that category. I might be a genius in other categories, but not that one. Not predicting patches. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, February 25th for the patch, March 4th for Season 2. So it's going to be pretty cool. If you haven't checked out the Undermined PTR, it's really cool. It's one of those patches that I'm like, I could see myself living here for a few months. So we'll see how it goes. Making sure that everything is okay. Obviously, we're going to get some content in a couple weeks or 8 weeks or so for patch 11.1.5. But for now, we're going to be in the Undermine, and I'm here for it because it is a blast. I don't normally like the goblin aesthetic, but if you can go all in on goblins, it's actually really fun. So, so Goblin Town it is. We get Undermine. So new zone, Undermine. That's the place where we'll be doing all of our stuff. So there's a story campaign and then there's side quests. There's a bunch of really cool stuff that you can do there. You can get an apartment. Apparently there's, it's fun. There's a new drive system. So this is the new mount. It's a car that you're going to get that you can drift in and you can customize with different speed and braking and turning options and handling and all this. It's really cool. The driving on it, it takes some practice. You got to get used to it because it goes really fast and you're going to crash into stuff all the time. But once you've gotten used to it, it's going to be really fun. And I feel like Blizzard is going to iterate on it, improve on it in the patches to come. So, hopefully this is something that they give us going forward. Like, hey, this is a no flying zone, so here's your drive car. That would be great. I'd love that. If Blizzard said, hey, we're going to have you drive in patch 11.1 and then never again, I'd be really bummed, honestly, because like, what's the point then? So I can't imagine that they're going to do that. So this is probably going to be a new feature that we have going around for the next or for the foreseeable future. So, all right. Other things that we're going to get: new dungeon, Operation Floodgate. So this is a brand new dungeon. Rather than giving us a mega dungeon this time around, like we have gotten in the past few expansions, we're going to get 2 dungeons, one in patch 11.1 and a new dungeon in patch 11.2. So that'll be our replacement for the mega dungeon. I like this better. I don't like the mega dungeons. I feel like, who are they for? Honestly, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but honestly, who are the mega dungeons for? The top guilds go do them once or twice in that first week that they're really, or in the first couple of weeks that they're out, and then they never touch them again, ever. They just, we're done. And then you'll occasionally have a group in LFR or the group finder looking for people to do a mega dungeon, but they can never complete it. And it's like, what's the point? So I think this is smart. I think this is a better way to do it. 2 new dungeons, one for season 2, one for season 3. Perfect. Let's do it. So Operation Floodgate, it will take place in the Ringing Deeps, and we're going to stop the bad guy goblins from destroying the dam and flooding the whatever. Who knows? They're doing something nefarious. That's the storyline. And then we're going to get the new raid, Liberation of Undermine. So we're going to go attack the Galagio Hotel, I guess is what we're doing. I didn't actually do any of the raid testing on the PTR. I've only done the dungeon and the new zone and the drive mount system and everything. So the new raid, Liberation of Undermine, we're going to kill Gallywix. That will be released on March 4th. So there you go. We're going to get a simultaneous release of Normal, Heroic, and Mythic on March 4th. We will also get Raid Finder Wing 1 on March 4th. And then starting on March 11th, we'll get Raid Finder Wing 2, and then so on for the next few weeks. Also on March 11th, we're going to get the Story Mode Raid, which will be available, and that's just the Gallywix encounter. So more than likely, there will be a quest to kill Gallywix, and then when you do, you'll get a runed Undermine crest, which is what we've had for the last few patches or the last few seasons. So likely that'll be what the case is here. So we'll get that on week 2, which is great, especially if you're someone like me who I'm not grinding gilded crests. So ruined crest is kind of my end game. I might get a few gilded crests by the end of the season, but not a whole bunch. So for me, getting a ruined crest early in the season or a ruined, enchanted ruined crest is really huge because I can craft a piece of gear then it's going to be, I don't know what it was, like 658 or something. It's great. I'm super psyched about this because week 2 to get a new crafted piece, that's fantastic. If you read the guides on Yahoo or Icy Veins, they always tell you, craft your bracers or a cloak because those have the lowest stat budget. Well, the reason they tell you that is because they're talking about max level. If you are grinding gilded crests and you're hitting max level, and you are getting mythic or myth track gear, then yeah, you don't want to craft something with a high stat budget for your crafted item. You want the lower stat budget because it can never be that highest item level. You can't get it all the way up, which in current season is 639, and the crafted stuff is 636. But if you're someone like me, who even if I was doing 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, I'm still never going to have a steady income of gilded crests, which means I'm always going to be in that mid to low bracket of gear upgrades. So if you want to craft a piece of gear, I wouldn't necessarily go for a weapon. You can if you want. I would look at maybe like a ring or a trinket, or I'm sorry, a ring or a neck, or a glove boot bracer. The reason that I wouldn't go for any of the other slots is because those are your tier slots. So you want helm, shoulders, chest, gloves, legs. You want to save those for tier. You don't want to get a tier piece and it's what you crafted, because then you have to decide. So I would say craft something that is not a tier piece, and that is something that you're probably not going to replace right away. So anyway, but the surefire way to get an upgrade is to craft a piece of gear. That's just the law of WoW. All right, so that's the new raid. It's an 8-boss raid. Galliwix is the last boss. The boss names in the raid are incredible. We're going to do a whole deep dive on patch 11.1 next week, so look for that coming up. Other new features in the patch that aren't Goblin related are the new UI interface updates. So we're going to get a Warband login screen updates. So it's going to be a background, so you can get like Onaran Plains and Isle of Dorn and the Galagio Hotel and a couple of different things. And Blizzard is going to start rolling these things out. And we'll probably get a few every big patch. We'll get a few new login screen backgrounds. But the big thing for me on the Warband screen is that we're going to be able to create Warband groups on the login screen. So you can say, all right, these are my main characters, so they're all going to be in the main group. And these are my crafting characters, and they're all going to be in the crafting group. Or these are my characters on Stormbringer or Moonrunner. I have a bunch of characters on Moonrunner who I never play, but I don't want to delete. So they can all be in the Moonrunner group. I mean, it's still limited to 4, but you get the idea. It's like you can organize a little bit better. All right. And then the other thing is in the map, you're going to get an event tab that will show up that will show you when different events are going to be scheduled. So no longer you have to use the week aura that shows you when different things are going to be scheduled. Your theater troupe, your that's really the only one that's being scheduled right now. I guess there's going to be a new one in Undermine. You have deliveries you're going to have to make with your car. But anyway, it's like if you go back to Dragonflight and you think about like when is the feast going to be? When is the when's the siege on Dragonbane Keep? It'll show you up in schedules. You don't have to have a separate week or to keep track of that. It's just a small quality of life change. I really like that stuff that Blizzard is continually iterating on the interface and on the game and just making those small updates. It makes the game better. So, all right, let's move on to this week in World of Warcraft. We have Season 1 of The War Within, Week 24. The affix for the week is Devour. Players are periodically affected with a heal absorb while in combat, so make sure you spec into your Dispel. Make sure you spec into, if you've got a heal, make sure you use your heal. If you're a Death Knight, you do your anti-magic shell that will get rid of a magic effect, stuff like that. You know what to do at this point. We've been doing this for 24 weeks, so if you don't know what to do, I would definitely just check Wowhead real quick. It'll have a list of all of the different classes and what they can do to get rid of Devour. Some classes can do nothing. A Demon Hunter can do nothing. They have 0 way to affect Devour, which stinks, but it is what it is. And then the +4 affix this week is Tyrannical. You know it, you hate to see it. Bosses have 25% more health and deal 15% more damage. Yeah, Tyrannical, whatever. I'll be really glad when this moves up to +7, because it's like, if I'm doing a +7, it's like, okay, give me a Tyrannical. But before that, it's like, come on, I don't want to do this. So, All right. The bonus event this week is the Cataclysm Time Walking event. There is no other bonus event. It's just Time Walking this week. So you're going to get the Sign of the Destroyer buff. Cataclysm reputation gains from combat and quests increased by 50%. You will have the 6 Time Walking dungeons, the Stone Core, Lost City of the Tol'vir, the Vortex Pinnacle, Throne of the Tides, End Time, and Blackrock Caverns. You will get the raid of Firelands, which is great unless you want to kill Ragnaros, in which case it stinks because killing Ragnaros is a pain because no one knows the fight mechanics. You get in there, you wipe 3 or 4 times, and then people start leaving the group, and then the group falls apart, and you wasted an hour. So, yeah. Anyway, you can pick up the quest A Shattered Path Through Time from Archivist Thrune in Dornagal to defeat 5 time walking raid bosses or dungeons, and you will be rewarded with a heroic cache of Nerubian treasure. So it's a hero piece of gear from Nerubar Palace. You can also get the quest Disturbance Detected Firelands from Vormu in Orgrimmar or Stormwind to defeat Ragnaros, loot the Time-Locked Cinder, and you will be rewarded with a cache of Time Warp treasures, which is a hero track piece of gear from a Cataclysm raid. So there you go. That's and this is the final week for the Turbulent Timeways. So if you need 1 more for your B mount, you're good. If you need 2 more for your B mount, you are screwed. So unfortunately, I already have my B mount. It's cute. I love it. So I'm happy. The PvP brawl for the week is Shadowpan Showdown. Step into Tiger's Peak Arena and get ready for the Shadowpan Showdown. You'll race for control of a center console point to activate one of 2 bosses. The first kill the other team's boss wins. Yay. This one's not bad. It's pretty fast. When you zone into the brawl, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. The Love is in the Air will end on the 17th in the morning. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time. So by the time you listen to this, it'll probably be over already. So I can't really remind you to finish it up, but there is a holiday. It's a micro holiday on February 23rd. It is the Hatching of the Hippogriffs. And this is one of those holidays. It doesn't give you anything, permanent. Like there's no achievement. There's no reward. What you get is a little hippogriff that sits on your shoulder and / emotes cute things to you. So if you want something light and frivolous and fun, this is a really cool holiday. I stole this comment from Wowhead. It says, fly to Stonewall Hold for the Horde, or Tower of Estulon for the Alliance in Western Faerlos. Fly south and follow the mountain range toward the ruin of Isildian, hugging the right side of the mountains until you get to Frey Feather Highlands. On your map, if it is visible, you should see a small lake that looks like a dog bone. Locate an egg in the highlands, and then stand on the egg for about 60 seconds. You will get a hatchling that sits on your shoulder, as well as receive a 24-hour buff that reads, Frey Feather Hatchling, Mama, 24 hours remaining. The hatchling will give random / emotes like dozing off, appears to be learning, and is impressed when you kill high-level mobs. There is also an elite Frey Feather that flies around. The name of the mob is Lorthalium, Ancient Frey Feather Matriarch. She drops a spectral feather, which will extend your hatchling's buff duration to 5 days. So you'll get your little friend. Do not go into a PvP battleground or a brawl when you do this, because you will lose your hatchling. You will not be able to get it back. All right, that's it. That's all we've got for the news. It's a light news week. Last week was crazy. This week is light. All right, let's move on to the main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So Blizzard will be releasing the Hour of Twilight to Cataclysm Classic. This will hit our servers on February 18th. After the servers come up, they're currently scheduled for a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. maintenance window. Who knows when they're actually going to come up, but when the servers come up, the Hour of Twilight patch will be available on Cataclysm Classic. The Dragon Soul Raid will release February 20th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be a global release. So great for the people in America. That will be lousy for people in the EU and Asia and Australia. So unfortunately, Actually, I think the Australians will get it in the morning, so that's not too bad, but nobody wants a boss to release at midnight, but whatever. And then on February 25th, we will get the release of Alizabal in Barradin Hold, which is the final boss in Barradin Hold. Right, so what is included in the Hour of Twilight patch for Cataclysm Classic? Well, I'm glad you asked. So here's the thing. Cataclysm was, or rather is, poorly remembered for its lack of content. People like to complain about Cataclysm. They say, oh, well, Cataclysm didn't do all the things that we thought it was going to do. And that's true. They did have some things that we thought they were going to do that they turned out not to do. Either it was canceled or they never planned to do it in the first place, like the Neptulon raid. But there was plenty of content in Cataclysm. It was just, compared to Wrath of the Lich King, compared to Burning Crusade, there was less content. And when you follow up those 3 expansions and then you destroy everything that they had already put into place for all of the starting zones, all of the leveling content, all of the quests, everything was changed. Some people had a hard time with that. I had a hard time with that. I still enjoyed Cataclysm, but I didn't really love it the way I loved the other 2 previous expansions. So, and that's fine. This is a redo of Cataclysm. It's a repeat. So nobody's expecting something exciting. This is just, hey, here's what happened. Here you go. You're going to get Cataclysm. It's going to happen the way it happened before. But I definitely, I want to hit on that because a lot of people really dog on Cataclysm, and it wasn't a bad expansion. Yes, we didn't get the Neptulon raid. And yes, we had the whole old world changed from what we knew and loved to something completely different that was still good, but it wasn't what we knew. It wasn't what we loved. It changed it forever. And we could never go back to it. At least at the time, we thought, oh, we'll never be able to go back. We didn't know there was going to be classic servers coming out in 9 years. So, Cataclysm was very divisive. And this being the final patch, I think it had a lot riding on its shoulders. And in a lot of ways, it delivered. In a lot of ways, it didn't deliver. So we'll go over everything and we'll talk about it. And we'll kind of maybe draw some conclusions. But I definitely think that Cataclysm, I don't think it got a fair shake because of what it was following up. You can't follow up Wrath of the Lich King with something lackluster and expect it to be well accepted. Consider every expansion that has released since Wrath of the Lich King minus Legion. They've all been lackluster. And does that mean WoW is a bad game? No, people are still playing WoW. It's just we've never had anything quite like that before. And even Wrath of the Lich King itself wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is so great. It's not my favorite expansion of all time. I feel like Wrath of the Lich King changed WoW in ways more than Cataclysm ever did. Cataclysm just iterated on that. Anyway, all right, let's get into the content that's coming out with the release of Cataclysm Classic, the Hour of Twilight on February 18th. 3 new dungeons. So you have to go to the Caverns of Time to do these, or you can do them in the Dungeon Finder. But if you want to zone in old school, you have to go to the Caverns of Time. That's where the entrance to these dungeons are. So the story goes, we're trying to finish off Deathwing, right? Oh, he's so annoying. We've got Deathwing flying around. He's breathing fire at everyone. He's pissing everyone off. Let's kill this guy. So how do we kill this giant dragon? Well, you can't just punch him in the face. I mean, you can, but it's not going to finish him off. So what do we do? We need the Dragon Soul, which is a artifact the Deathwing created back in the old days before the Sundering. And it has appeared, but if we could find it, we could use that to kill Deathwing. Cool. Let's go find the Dragon Soul. How do we find the Dragon Soul? Well, it was lost after the Sundering. So what do we need to do? We need to go back in time via Nosdormu to before the Sundering. Well, that was the War of the Ancients. If you know your WoW lore, you know that that's when the Burning Legion attacked Azeroth. And because of Queen Ashara, they were able to come in through a portal. And they tried to summon in Sargeras and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we have to do. So let's go back in time to the Well of Eternity during the War of the Ancients. And oh, wait a minute. A powerful being is blocking our path. What is this? How could this be? Oh, look, it's Murazond. He's an evil dragon. Who is this guy? Oh, wait a minute. It's Nosdormu. It's evil Nosdormu. They're both voice acted by the great Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen is an actor who has done a great many roles. Apocalypse Now. He did The West Wing. He was the president on The West Wing. If you know that show. If you don't know who Martin Sheen is, he's also the father of Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. He's a really great actor, but he hasn't done anything recently, so some young people might not know who he is. Anyway, Blizzard hired him to be the voice for Nosdormu. So if you hear Nosdormu in Cataclysm, you're like, he sounds funny. It's because it's Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen has a very distinct voice. Is not something that I think a decision that Blizzard would make today, but it was a decision they made back in 2009 or 2010 to have Martin Sheen record these voice lines. I think that the voice actor for Nosdormu in Dragonflight was much better, but anyway, that's an aside point. So yeah, Martin Sheen voices Nosdormu Murazond. So Nosdormu tells us, hey, you got to go stop this guy, but I can't help you because it's me. So figure it out. And apparently Murazond is like the most powerful being ever to exist, and we managed to kill him with an hourglass, and I don't even know. So you have to go into the end time dungeon. You have to kill 2 of 4 of the following bosses: Echo of Bane, Echo of Jaina, Echo of Sylvanas, and Echo of Tyrande. Now, if you've done the time walking, you'll know that this is one of the time walking dungeons, and you get 2 random ones, and then you have to kill Murazond. So we have to do the 2. They're all 4 of them are annoying in their own special way. I think Jaina is probably the easiest one. And then you kill Murazond, and that's that, and you move on. All right. Once you've done that, now we've cleared the path. We can now travel back in time to the War of the Ancients. So now we zone into the Well of Eternity dungeon. So, oh, look at that. Illidan's here. Okay, so now we have to get Illidan to help us. So Illidan will help us. He can help stealth because apparently he's a rogue now. He can help stealth us past the Burning Legion, and we can steal the Dragon Soul. Oh, wait a minute. There's a shield protecting Queen Ashara, and she's looking over the portal where the Dragon Soul is. So we have to lower the shield. So we do that. And then we have to kill Paratharn, who's a demon boss guy that is, hey, why'd you take down the shield? Because we're trying to kill you. And then we kill him. And then we go to fight Queen Ashara, and of course we don't fight her because, she's the queen. So we have to kill her underlings. So we kill her underlings, and then she takes off with Varothan on his mounts, and they fly away. And we have to track them down, and the Bronze Dragonflight comes and helps us. Like, hey, would you like to fly? Would that be easier if we just flew you there instead of having you walk? And we're like, yeah, please fly us. And so we fly over there, and so we kill some more demons, and then we fight Varothan, and we fight Manaroth. Manaroth is a giant demon who's keeping the portal open. Malfurion's there, and he's like, hey, I can't close the portal because there's a giant demon keeping it open. And Illidan's like, well, let's go kill this guy. So Illidan goes and fights Manaroth, and then we kill Varothan, and then we have to help Illidan finish off Manaroth, and then we can close the portal. Oh, but wait a minute. Illidan is stealing part of the Well of Eternity, and Malfurion catches him in the act. He's like, dude, you got busted. What's up? So they put Illidan in jail, but that's a story for another time. We'll deal with that when we get to Legion Classic. All right, so finally, we get the Dragon Soul. Boom, we got it. We stole it back in the old days. Screw that timeline. They don't get it. This is, Avengers Endgame, but back in 2012. It was 2012. 2011. Anyway, so we get the Dragon Soul, and now we've got to take it back to modern day, and there's Thrall. So Thrall's like, hey,
champion, we need to take this to Wormrest Temple so that it's protected.
All right, cool, let's go. So we take, so Thrall takes us, and we're like, let's go. So we go to Wormrest Temple, and along the way, we have to defeat an elemental boss who's like, hey, you're bad. And then we kill him, and then there's an assassin who's like randomly killing dragons, and she's like, haha, I killed this dragon. And you're like, well, we're going to kill you. And then Thrall reses the dragon because he has that spell. And then so we get we get on some more dragons, and Thrall takes that one dragon, he takes off. He's like, I'll see you later, champion. And then we're waiting for some other dragons to show up, and then they fly us to Wormrest Temple. So we fight our way to Wormrest Temple, and then Archmage Benedictus is there. And if you're an Alliance player, you know Archmage Benedictus. He's been a quest giver for several years, all the way back in vanilla, and he's been doing some things, and it turns out he's a bad guy. And he's like, give me the dragon soul, Thrall. And Thrall's like, oh, hell no, bro. You ain't getting shit from me. So now we have to kill Benedictus. So we kill Benedictus, and then Thrall's like, the dragon soul is safe. And I'm like, is it really safe, Thrall? Is it? But apparently it's safe. So, and that's the whole thing. That's the whole story that leads up to the Dragon Soul raid. It actually makes sense. There's a through storyline that goes through these 3 dungeons and takes you right to the doorstep of the Dragon Soul raid. It's actually really well done. I wish that Blizzard would get more credit for Cataclysm. It's not a bad expansion. They made some decisions in that expansion that I don't personally agree with. I don't like. And that's me. And a lot of people felt that way. And so, okay, maybe it is a bad expansion. I don't know. I feel like the content in it is good. The first raid tier was good. Firelands, obviously one of the best raids that Blizzard's ever done. And Dragon Soul is a raid. So let's talk about Dragon Soul and why Dragon Soul has a bad reputation for being one of the worst raids. Where do we start? Let's start with the first boss. Okay, so the beginning of Dragon Soul, you zone in, and the Deathwing's forces are attacking Wormrest Temple. So we have to defend Wormrest Temple. Okay, that makes sense. Let's defend it. So we have to fight Morchok, who is a giant elemental dude, which I think they brought him back for Dragonflight. So that's cool, I guess. So we have to fight Morchok, and he's a pretty typical first boss. He just loot pinata. He falls over pretty easy. And then you go from there, and now we get to Wormrest Temple, and here's where it gets weird. So rather than continuing on from Wormrest Temple, first of all, when you have a raid in an existing outdoor area, and this isn't like an enclosed outdoor area like Zul'Farrak or Zul'Gurub or something like that, where you can fly over it and be like, oh yeah, like this is the layout of the dungeon. This is Wormrest Temple. This is just a quest hub in Wrath of the Lich King. There's nothing dungeony about this. So this is where the raid is located. And this is why we had to go to this is why we had to go to the Caverns of Time to get here, because it doesn't have a normal entrance. It's just Wormrest Temple. So we get there, and we get to the temple, and they're like, hey, the dragons in there are like, hey, the old god forces are attacking us. We need to kill their generals. And I'm like, okay, let's kill their generals. Where are they? And they're like, well, you have to take these dragons. They'll fly you there, and then they'll drop you off above these giant gaping holes. And then when you fall in the hole, you'll fight the boss. You have to clear the trash, and you have to fight the boss. And it's like, okay. I mean, it's fine. It's a little disjointed, but that's okay. So you go through there, you clear all the trash, you kill the boss, and then when you're done, you take a portal back to Wormrest Temple. So the 2 bosses are Warlord Zonaz. He is a Cathraxi general, and Yorsaj the Unsleeping, who is a Naraki general. The Naraki, if you aren't familiar with that term, it's a they call them the Faceless Ones. We've seen them before in different. There's the ones with like the tentacle arms and the face and whatnot. And then the Cathraxi, that's like the second to last boss of Ulduar is a Cathraxi. So anyway, it doesn't matter. We kill them, and then we go back to the top of, or then we go to the top of Wormrest Temple, and they're like, okay, all the dragon aspects are there. And Thrall is like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea to use this dragon soul because I don't know that I can control it. Which, why did we just do all that work to get it then, Thrall? Why did we just do all that work? I'm asking for a friend. So Alex Strauss is like, well, if you can't do it, then we lose. So figure it out, jackass. And Calicos is like, I have an idea that just might work. let's go to the Eye of Eternity. If you remember, the Eye of Eternity was one of the raids in Wrath of the Lich King. This is where we killed Malagos. Let's go to the Eye of Eternity and take the Focusing Iris, which I think we already took that, but anyway, whatever. So he says, let's go do that, but it's probably going to be a trap, which means it's going to be a trap. So we say, okay, let's go to Eye of Eternity. So Calicos is like, here, I'll open a portal for you. So he opens a portal to a different raid, which is the Eye of Eternity. So we go to the Eye of Eternity. We take the Focusing Iris, and oh, look at that. It's a trap. So now we have to fight Hagara the Stormbinder, who is an orc mage shaman. So she has the powers of a mage and the powers of a shaman, which honestly is kind of OP if you ask me. So we have to clear her trash, and then she comes down off of her floating disc that we remember if you did the Malagos fight back in the day, there was floating discs that you had to use. Anyway, she comes down off of her floating disc, and we have to fight her. So we fight her, and she dies, and then we take a portal back to Wormrest Temple. So you can see where I'm coming from here. This is really disjointed. It's not like, hey, I'm just going to flow through this raid. It's you're taking portals all over the place. Like, I don't even know where we're going at this point. So we return to Wormrest Temple. The aspects are there, and Thrall, and they decide, okay, now that we have the Focusing Iris, we can conduct a ritual to imbue our powers into the Dragon Soul. Cool. That's what's going to defeat Deathwing. Oh, but they need time to conduct this ritual because it takes all their power and all of their energy and all of their soul to power up the Dragon Soul to defeat Deathwing. So we have to defend them while they are vulnerable during this ritual, which of course we do. So we say, yeah, that's fine. We'll protect you. Whatever. Who cares? And so they start doing the ritual, and lo and behold, we get attacked. Yeah. So Deathwing has corrupted some of Alexstras's red Dragonflight and turned them into Twilight Dragons, so they attack us. And Alexstras is like, yo, I don't know these guys anymore. They're dead to me. So we're like, all right, let's start killing. So we kill all the dragons, and then we get attacked by a big dragon, Ultraxian, the boss. He's a massive Twilight Dragon. He's got some weird mechanics on his fight, but it's a pretty fun fight. It's basically just a tank and spank, but there's a Twilight realm mechanic thing that you have to. Anyway, so we kill Ultraxian. We're still on top of Wormrest Temple at this point. So now Thrall says, "Okay, let's go." So he takes the Dragon Soul, and we get a cool little cinematic where Thrall uses the Dragon Soul, and he's like, he shoots Deathwing with the Dragon Soul, and Deathwing is injured. Oh, but he still manages to hit the Horde airship. Boom! And smacks it and knocks it and drops it out of the sky. So the Horde are done in this in this raid. I mean, we still have the Horde raid group. If you're a Horde raid group, you can still continue on, but you have to use the Alliance transportation now. So so Deathwing takes off. He's like, I'm going to the Maelstrom. See you guys later. And everyone says, whoa, well, we better follow him, because if he gets to the Maelstrom, he'll go to Deep Home and we'll never get him out, because apparently we don't know how to get back to Deep Home. We board the Alliance airship, the Skyfire, and we take to pursuit. Let's follow Deathwing. Let's get him. The captains, the dual captains there's one for the Alliance and one for the Horde. The Alliance one is Sky Captain Swayze, and the Horde one is Kaanu Reeves, so that's very clever. It's oh gosh, now I can't remember the name of the movie. Why can't I remember the name of that movie? My brain is drawing a blank. Point Break. Thank you. Point Break is the name of the movie with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves. Anyway, so if you're Horde, obviously you talk to Keanu, and if you're Alliance, you talk to Patrick Swayze. So then you get another cool cinematic. Then we take off. The airship takes off, and we go. All right, off we go, and the airship is kind of like chilling, and we're following Deathwing, but it's like, we'll probably fight some more of his forces, and of course we do. So we talk to them, and we say, hey, let's start the encounter, and we do, and it's War Master Blackhorn, and he's the leader of the Twilight Hammer's army. And he's got a bunch of ads that he's going to drop on us, some Vrykul and Elemental guys and other stuff. And he's riding on top of a Twilight Dragon. Eventually, he comes down and we fight him and we kill him, and that's the end of that fight. All right. Well, now we're on the Alliance ship, and Deathwing is in our sights, and we can see him. So we gotta take him out, take him down. So what do? We parachute onto his back. What? Wait, what? Don't we have like nukes and stuff? We can just blast him out of the sky. Anyway, so we parachute onto his back. We follow the Horde and Alliance captains, and we have to go down and we do the Spine of Deathwing fight. Now, if you've ever done the Spine of Deathwing fight, you know it's a miserable, awful, horrible fight. It's probably the worst fight that Blizzard has ever designed. It is so annoying. To describe it very briefly, you have to kill 9 corrupted blood guys, and then you have to kill one of the tentacles that's there, and then it'll spawn another guy, and then you take that other guy, you drag him through the 9 bloods, and then he gets 9 stacks of bloods, and then you kill him right next to Deathwing's armor plate, and when you do, he does a nuclear explosion, and he blows up the armor plate, and you can proceed on. And you have to do that like 4 times. It's really annoying because Deathwing is constantly trying to roll you off of his back, and so he's flying and he's trying to roll, and if he rolls weird, then the elemental guy that you're trying to kill goes flying, and then you have to start all over again. It's an awful fight. It's miserable. I hate it. Blizzard, screw you. So you finish that fight, and then you go, okay. Thrall's like, let's finish Deathwing off. Let's finish him off. So he goes, okay, I've got the Dragon Soul. We got one more blast. And I don't remember a part where we were like, let's get off of Deathwing's back. Apparently Thrall's just like, you know what, you guys are expendable. I'm going to shoot all of you. So he blasts Deathwing with the Dragon Soul, and Deathwing is finally mortally wounded, and he falls into the Maelstrom. And then we have to finish him off there. So we go down to the Maelstrom, and we're fighting his fingers and his toes and stuff, and eventually you defeat the madness of Deathwing encounter, and that's it. So these last 2 fights are one of the reasons why this raid gets such a bad reputation, but also the fact that it's so disjointed, and you're like, now we're on an airship, but before that we were on top of Worm's Temple, but before that we were on the Eye of Eternity raid, and it's really confusing. It's hard to follow. You can't just show up in a location and follow along. You're portaling constantly. If you don't pay attention to the voice lines and read the story text in there, you have no idea what's going on. Blizzard tried something here. They tried to make a story-driven raid. I think they were pretty successful in terms of achieving that, but given the WoW player base, I'd say it was a failure. Just because WoW players are not really good at following story during a raid. I've seen it happen time and time again. People get yelled at for watching cinematics. People are confused. Why are we even here? Who is this guy? So WoW players aren't necessarily the best at following the story. That being said, I appreciate what Blizzard tried to do with this raid. I really do. And I think that given the raids that we've had in the last few years, I think this is probably one of the better ones if they had just cleaned up the travel and completely altered the Spine and Madness of Deathwing's fights. Look, I get it. Deathwing is huge. He's a big-ass dragon. You can't just punch him in the face. But that's what we all wanted. We all wanted a giant Deathwing fight. Something. I don't know. There was a quest in Northrend, I think it was in Zuldrak, where there's a big giant guy wandering around. Big giant dude. He's huge. I mean, he's like massive guy. He's massive, tall. So we have to kill him. So there's a quest line where you have to do a bunch of things, and then you get to control a giant to come and fight this massive big dude. Now, when I say giant, I mean like giant compared to us. So it's like, wow, this guy's really big compared to us. But compared to the really giant big guy, like the massively big guy, the guy we were controlling went up to the big guy's knee. And so we were punching this guy's knee, and I was like, this is so anticlimactic. I wanted like a giant robot fight, on top of Northrend. Blizzard doesn't handle scale very well. And I don't think that this is their fault. I think it's probably a game engine issue. But they don't handle scale very well. So this fight did not scale. We ended up fighting either Deathwing's back plates or his different appendages. We never fought Deathwing. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity from Blizzard. But all said and done, we killed Deathwing. He's done. He's over. The dragon aspects lose their power. Alexstrasza realizes that Agra is pregnant and touches her belly in an awkward way. Thrall's like, yeah, I'm going to go start a family, so I'll see you guys later. I'll leave the horde to Garrosh, and certainly nothing bad will come of that. And that's that. So that's the end of Cataclysm. So there you go. There's one more thing that we're going to get from Cataclysm Classic Phase 4, which is the legendary rogue daggers. So if you play a rogue, you are probably familiar with these. If you don't play a rogue, you might have no clue that they even exist and that there's a whole huge storyline behind them, which involves Rathian. So let's talk about this. So the Fangs of the Fathers are legendary rogue daggers. You get the quest inside of the Dragon Soul raid, and the beginning of the raid, or the beginning of the quest line, is you have to go pickpocket a decoder ring from Hagar the Stonebinder. So Hagar is the fourth boss. It's the one that we have to fight in the Eye of Eternity. So in between the ad phase, or when we fight the ads, and before she comes down off of her ring, there's a moment where we are out of combat. And so if you are able to stealth at that point, you can go and pickpocket her. If you do, you get the ring, you take it back to the dragon guy who gave you the quest in the beginning of the raid, and then he sends you off on your way. So the next part of the raid, or the next part of the quest, is you have to stealth into Ravenhold because we're trying to find the black Dragonflight egg that was cleansed by the red Dragonflight in a Badlands questline that took place during the leveling campaign in Cataclysm. So if you didn't do that questline, you'll have no idea what's going on. Basically, the red Dragonflight took one of the black Dragonflight eggs, they purified it, they got rid of the corruption, and then the red dragon was killed, and then the egg was stolen. So we have to go find this egg. So we go find the egg, it's in Ravenhold, we have to stealth through. If you don't stealth successfully, you have to start over. So there's maps and guides on how to do the stealth. It's apparently super complicated, and if you do it wrong, you make a slight mistake, start over. Finally, you get to the end, and you find the egg, and oh, surprise, it's hatched. Who's inside the egg? It was Rathian all along. Not Agatha, but Rathian. So you talk to Rathian, and he's like, hey, what's up? I'm a black dragon, bitch. And you're like, okay, what do we do? So he sends you to go to kill a guy in Gelneas. So you have to stealth through the ruins of Gelneas, the Worgen starting area. You do that, and then you kill the boss there, and then you go back to Rathian, and you get the first stage of the daggers, which is their epic. They're not legendary yet. That's stage 1, Jaws of Retribution. Stage 2, Maw of Oblivion. You have to loot 333 shadowy gems, which drop from Elementium gem clusters, which drop from bosses in Dragon Soul. So the boss will drop Elementium gem clusters, and each cluster contains a certain number of shadowy gems. Each shadowy gem that comes from the gem clusters is dependent on whether you're doing 10 or 25 or normal or heroic. So if you're doing 25 heroic, you're going to get more shadowy gems than if you are doing 10 normal or whatever. So you do that, and then you have to, the next part of the quest is you have to stealth into the ruins of Karazhan. So go into Deadwind Pass, stealth into the ruins of Karazhan, kill a boss there. And again, every time you do these stealth missions, if you make a mistake, you have to start over. If you have to follow a precise path. I've never done this quest line. I had to look it all up because I was like, how does this thing work? Holy moly. I'm going to have to try and do this at some point. So anyway, once you've done that and you kill the boss, then you get the second step of the daggers, which is the Maw of Oblivion. The final stage is you have to loot 60 of the Elementium gem clusters, the ones that drop from the bosses, which is a lot. And then after you've completed that quest line, then you get a quest to go kill Deathwing. So if you've already killed Deathwing this week, in order to complete your previous quest to get 60 Elementium gem clusters, you won't be able to do the next part until the next week when you can kill Deathwing again. So that's a lot. The daggers themselves are pretty good for rogues. They have a really cool legendary effect, and then there's also a really cool cosmetic effect that they do, where they have wings that pop out when you use the on-use effect, and it will allow you to glide like a demon hunter. So, and remember, this is Cataclysm, so there was no demon hunters at this point yet. They were just figuring out this type of technology. So it's a 5-minute cooldown, so you can't do it all the time like a demon hunter can, but it's still pretty cool when you see rogues with their wings flying out. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole Hour of Twilight patch that's coming on Tuesday. So, I don't think this is a bad patch. I think that the Dragon Soul raid left a lot to be desired. I think it could have been a much better, much more entertaining raid. But I don't think it's bad. I think Blizzard did a pretty good job given what they were trying to do, which was they were trying to make a story-driven raid. And this is one of the reasons why they have implemented story mode, is because they're trying to go, okay, we want to be able to tell a story, but we don't want you to have to do the raid. So they're making most of the bosses pretty generic, and then the last boss has all the story components to it. I still think they should do follower raids. Hashtag follower raids. Let's go. Dave Gagne with the solo queue. Yeah, so there you go. That's Cataclysm Classic. It's done. We're done. That's it. There's no more content. This is not like Wrath of the Lich King where it was like, oh, we still have Ruby Sanctum. No, there's no more. So we're probably going to get a Miss Pandaria beta here in a couple of weeks. Or when I say a couple of weeks, I mean like 8 weeks from now. Because I'm still anticipating a pre-patch sometime in June, so we can get a Miss Pandaria launch in July. So if you go February, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. I'd say 5 months is a pretty decent amount of time for Dragon Soul. Yeah, so we'll see. But who knows? There's a lot that Blizzard has to get working correctly for Miss Pandaria. They're changing the talent system. They're adding pet battles. They're adding scenarios, challenge modes. There's a lot that's in Miss Pandaria that was not in any previous version of WoW. So it's going to be a pretty big undertaking, even considering the fact that it was pre-existing development. So, and what does this all mean for the future of Classic? I mean, we're going to go to Miss Pandaria. Are we going to Warlords of Draenor? Of course we are. Are we going to go to Legion? Of course we are. Are we going to go beyond Legion? I sure hope not. I've said this before and I said this earlier, but Legion needs to be the end of Classic. It has to be the end. We've got to go all the way to Legion. And then what I think the Blizzard should do, and this is my personal opinion, Blizzard, if you're listening to this, please make Classic end at Legion Classic, and then give us every 5 years a fresh server where we go Vanilla, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and then it ends with a Wrath of the Lich King era server. You could even throw in a Burning Crusade era server if you want, because some people might want that, but most people are going to want a Wrath of the Lich King era server, and then have our main Classic characters live forever in Legion era servers. Let us grind our artifact weapons, appearances, do the Mage Tower, run Mythic Plus, do all of these things that we can do in Legion era, and we'll never have to go to battle for Azeroth. Please, Blizzard, give us this, because listen, what is on the horizon after Legion? Battle for Azeroth? No, thank you. Shadowlands? No, gracias. Dragonflight? I mean, yeah, it's good, but I don't need to do it again. The War Within? What are we going to do? The War Within Classic? Come on. What are we doing here? Legion Classic? Done. We're done. End Classic there. Let our players live forever, or let our characters live forever in Dalaran. You could even add in the player housing. Like I said before, add in the player housing to Dalaran. Let players click on a portal and they can go to their house and they have their annoying neighbors who won't take out the trash. You can do that in Classic as well. But make sure that you end Classic with Legion. You can start it over again. That's fine. But have it end with Legion. Please, Blizzard. Don't make us go through Battle for Azeroth Classic. It's just bad. All right. Aside from that, if we look at if we're doing 15 months for Cataclysm, let's count 15 months for Miss Pandaria, because as big as Miss Pandaria was, there was only 3 raid tiers. Because you had your first raid tier with Mogushan Palace, or I'm sorry, Mogushan Vaults, Heart of Fear, and Terrace of the Springs. And then you had your second raid tier, which was the Throne of Thunder, and the third raid tier, which was Siege of Orgrimmar. So honestly, you could do Miss Pandaria Classic in 15 months. Done. And then Warlords of Draenor, please, 9 months. Max. 9 months. Done. And then Legion. So if we calculate that out, if we say July for Miss Pandaria Classic, 15 months, that's gonna July, August, October, so it'll be October of 2026, and then 9 months for Warlords of Draenor. So October, we're gonna go. What is that gonna be like? June, something like that. June 2027, and then Legion. I'm okay with that. 2027, let's get Legion, and we're going to do Legion Remix at the end of this year. So everybody will be primed and ready for it and excited about their characters going to Legion. I personally am happy that I got my Paladin at 85 so that I have somebody who's max level. I don't know that I'm getting anyone else to 85 because it's honestly a lot of work in Classic. It's so much work. Retail WoW or Modern WoW is so easy to level. You can level in an afternoon. Cataclysm, it's still a little bit of work. So, and I'm really hoping that they keep the Joyous Journeys up, but I don't know if they will during the Hour of Twilight patch. So we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, that is going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. I have loved every moment of doing this podcast and talking to all of you. And even though I'm in my room talking to a camera and there's nobody else in here, I feel like I'm talking to an audience. And I have a lot of people who are listening and enjoying the words that I'm saying. Yeah, there's some people who are listening and who are hating the words I'm saying, and that's fine too. But I'm really happy to know that there are people who are enjoying the podcast and listening and just having a good time. And I don't need people to be exclusive fans of mine. You can listen to 20 other podcasts. I don't care. I'm just happy to know that people are actually appreciating the content that I do, because I do work hard on this and I do try, and I do try to make something entertaining and enjoyable. So thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter or Blue Sky. I'm at Denethar on both of those platforms. If you want to check out my stream, you can occasionally, and I say occasionally with an eye roll, you can occasionally catch me streaming on Twitch or YouTube. I am at Denethar01 on both of those platforms. I will probably start streaming for Season 2 for the Undermine in Modern World of Warcraft. Really excited about Mythic Plus this time around, so I'll probably be doing some of that. I don't know that I'm going to get back into Season of Discovery. I just can't. I tried and it's not going to happen. I mean, maybe there'll be a Season of Discovery stream on there every once in a while, but for the most part, it's going to be The War Within. So, yeah, and that's it. So, like I said before, this is a new day for the podcast. It's Saturday night. I will be editing the podcast on Sunday, getting everything just right, and then I will release it Sunday night, Monday morning at midnight. So if you are using your favorite podcast app, you will get this podcast on Monday morning, probably on if you're going to work on President's Day, then you'll get your podcast then. If not, whatever. I will say I have gotten some of my lowest download numbers since I switched to a Friday record, Saturday release schedule. So that schedule is going away. That's not going to happen. I would rather hold the podcast until Monday and release it then than continue on with that, because I feel like, what is the point of doing this if I'm shooting myself in the foot with bad scheduling? So I need to be smart about how I'm doing the podcast, releasing on a good day. There's a lot of podcasts that get released on Monday, but you know what? We'll see how it goes. You know what? If you pick Blizzard Watch over me, then so be it. Or Lore Watch or whatever it is that gets released on Monday. But yeah, so there you go. And then as far as, I wanted to revisit the feedback that I've been getting on the podcasts. I got a lovely message, several messages on Blue Sky from Dave Gagne from Solo Queue. We've been going back and forth. He called me out on his podcast for calling him great. It's a very wonderful back and forth that we've had. If you haven't checked out a Solo Queue, you definitely need to go check it out. It's a great podcast about playing a World of Warcraft solo. There are so many things you can do in this game without having to interact with other people. So if you're feeling like you just want to do your own thing and you don't want to have to do stuff with other people, check out Solo Queue. He has so many great ideas, so many ways that you can play this game and enjoy it and have a good time without having to be social, if that's what you're feeling like you want to do. So check out Solo Queue. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite podcasts of all time. So and Dave Gagne, the host, is a great guy. So check it out. Give him a follow, like, subscribe, whatever, all that stuff. So and Dave, I will be responding to your message. By the time you see this podcast, you'll probably already have my response. But if not, then just know it's coming. So, right. So, like I said, that's going to wrap up our show. Again, thank you so much for listening. Remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that microphone and that keyboard that, you know what, maybe they're just having a hard time. Maybe their mother-in-law just had hip surgery, or maybe they love Warlords of Draenor Classic, or, maybe they like drinking Kool-Aid. Who knows? But you can still be nice to them and just smile and give them a wave and just say, hey, buddy, you know what? It's all good. We're all playing this game and we're having fun. And you know what? We don't have to agree, but we can be nice to each other. So, all right. Take care. Love you all. And I'll see you in Azeroth.